Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 31st episode of the Without Context podcast. Look who we got! It's the boy! He's back!
It's one of the boys.
It's one of the boys.
I'll call Alvin out. He's
Uh,
playing video games right now.
Alright. We are, this 31st episode, we've got Duck in the house, we've got AnxietyLasagna, we've got SharkyHat, and we've got me, Decavolty. And we were originally going to talk about two different, I'm gonna classify them as, like, movies with generational trauma in them, because that's kind of what they are. But we really want Alvin for that one, and this is in no way us like being like, Alvin, you must come over immediately. But it from the cultural standpoint, it makes more sense if Alvin's here with us when we inevitably talk about Turning Red.
Yeah,
So,
and
hey.
it was going to be a double feature as kind of a representation in media part 2, or just kind of a sequel to that original episode. But breaking it down, yeah, I guess they'll be their own thing until we can get Alvin in to definitely talk about something more his heritage.
Sorry, it's literally snowing at my house.
I do see the flakes now. They're getting pretty chunky.
There's some chunk here. I'd have to get up, and then you would see that I'm not wearing real pants, and so you'll just have to take my word for it that
She's dealing with snow, and it's like 70 degrees here in Virginia today.
There is some fat flakage happening here in the PN Dub. It's literally.
Yeah, it's currently 80 degrees where I am in Maryland.
It is 90. It is 95 degrees right now in Texas.
Anyway, weird weather. It's a weird time of year.
34.
It's a very weird time of year.
Climate change, baby. Anyway, that's gonna date our podcast so hard. Anyway, we're gonna be talking about Encanto today. Our general thoughts on it. My thoughts as well being the target audience ?
I mean, maybe.
And what we all thought about it.
I will say, to start with, and you touched on it already a bit, Deca, Disney shifting away from the romantic tropes and going into the more various types of love and dealing with like generational trauma and showing kids that as opposed to just the same romantic stuff or supposed romantic stuff that we got when we were children. It's so much better, even from just like a storytelling standpoint.
We touched on this in like the romance episode, but there's way more ways to tell a story besides like, man loves woman and eventually they kiss. That's boring. They've been doing that for like 40 years now. There's much more out there. Stop being boring.
Oh, absolutely.
And kudos to Disney for like coming out of their shell a little bit with that, I guess.
I don't know if we can necessarily give Disney the credit for it. I think the credit lies in that they're giving diverse creators creative control over projects. And therefore we're getting diverse perspectives. And that I think, and like I'm a white people, so I feel it's more likely, I think it's better for us to be like, thank you, diverse creators. And whoever at Disney made the choice to be like, hey, maybe have someone other than a white people give us another rehashing of a true love story for a kids movie.
I think it's less they're giving it, and I think it's more they're just taking it now. Like,
good.
You think of like all the animated shows in the recent years that have popped up on networks like Cartoon Network and Disney and all that, and a lot of it showing, different cultures to a way. Even a show as simple as like We Bare Bears had like a Korean main character at the center of it all, like a Korean college student.
Mm-hmm. And we're looking at you, Steven Universe.
And Steven Universe,
Rebecca Sugar.
We have stuff like She-Ra and the Owl House and all that in recent years too. It's like, I think it's just like, no, you're going to let us write the fucking show that we want to write.
Still need to watch Owl House.
And we will, watch Owl House. And we will make it gayer.
We're
not quite there with Disney yet, but we're getting there.
I think that was one of the favorite jokes from Twitter, it's like they told her to turn it down. Rebecca Sugar to tone it down, and she just went back, make it gayer. It's like hit that shit to 11.
But Encanto.
Encanto.
I guess I'll start. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Deca.
So just one thing I was saying, like before the we started recording, is just I was listening to the soundtrack in Spanish, and it just hits different. For me in particular, being a Hispanic person, just listening to the soundtrack in Spanish, I have listened to it before in Spanish, before I just listened, but like all the songs, it's wild because all the songs have the exact same timbre, the same cadence, the same like the songs flow about the same as much as you can between like English and Spanish. And but as somebody who grew up in a Spanish speaking household, um, it hits different, and it's that representation. For me personally, it hits, and like even the first song, the Madrigal House or however it goes, it like yeah, you're already nodding along to it. It's great. Um, the way, as fast as it is in English, as like fast paced as it is just as fast paced in Spanish, but it hits the same. And I think that's credit to that's both a credit and kind of a detriment to me for Manuel Miranda, who obviously wrote the songs and did some of the story for Encanto. Because it is obscenely a Manuel Miranda ass production for both good and ill. So like if you've seen like Hamilton or in the Heights, there it's very similar like pacing, and in some ways that's like, that's good because it's like, okay, we go here, and it's, you can follow along pretty easily. But also there's times where it's like, hey, this character was here for like 5 minutes and didn't get anything. Just kind of like sat there drinking a cup of Starbucks or something. And I think when we were initially talking about doing this episode, I think you had some similar opinions on that, Haley. You can.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing. I think I messaged you on Discord about it, where to me, and I don't know if this is just the nature that like we're adults watching a film that's aimed towards children, I felt that it was very fast paced, almost to the point where I feel like I was just kind of like strapped in and just like was taken on this journey. And there were definitely moments where I was very like emotionally connected to the story and like had those like the song with the two butterflies, and like it goes through the grandmother's backstory and like what happened to her and the grandfather. Hysterical. Had to pause the movie and just like sit in that emotion for a minute. And but I think that's another like Lin-Manuel Miranda problem where like he's a very efficient storyteller. He gets from point A to B to C to D very efficiently, and usually through song, which is like great, but you also don't get as much like character development as you could, or like I don't know. But I enjoyed the film. It just felt very fast paced. I don't know what the runtime is off the top of my head, but that was, I think that was probably the only negative that I had, was it just felt like it was really fast.
I think that's kind of what I felt too.
Minutes.
It's like I know the characters based on what they can do, but like I felt like there was so little development for like the supporting cast that I don't even remember like a lot of names. It's just one of those things where it's like I recognize them based on what their magic is, rather than like who they are, because there's so little time focused on them, or it's like a passing mention in a song but then never really like expanded upon.
It's interesting that you point that out, and like I was thinking about it as you were saying, like I wonder if that was intentional, the way that the story goes, that like their power meant more than who they were as a person, because like that sort of goes with the plot of the film.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like think when we bring that up, is like I can see that, because the whole thing is like she doesn't feel like she belongs because she doesn't have something. It's like it is that thing where it does probably go into that generational trauma, which as a white person I don't think I can like fully understand. In terms of, because that's just not something that I've dealt with in my life. But yeah, it definitely just feels like these characters are important because of what they can do rather than, who they are outside of that. And I mean, the story did kind of focus on that being the main, theme about it.
I also want to
grandmothers.
preface before we go in that we are going to be engaging in spoilers from like this point on as
Yeah.
I get back to my next point. But continue, Sharky. Sorry.
I mean, I might be wrong on something. It's been like 3 weeks since I've watched the movie.
Sure.
But yeah, like the thing I liked is that there wasn't. I think Charlie brought it up earlier. It's like it's a different kind of story. There's no real villain, so to speak. There's no like physical villain. It's more of just like the concept of a villain in a sense of like the connections between everybody, how the grandmother acts, how it's just turning against like this house has to be something, and you don't have anything, so it feels like you're bringing it down kind of thing. So it's different, and I appreciate that. I like how the stories are trying to tell different stories where it's not cut and dry, black and white kind of stuff.
I think a tangential kind of thing to take off of that too is that like even if there's not these big oppressive villains in either the movie or our own lives, we're still going to have problems that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Whether that be from our families or just like environmental or whatever the case is, there's always going to be adversity of some sort.
I wanted to go on record that this movie made me care about a house. So
okay, but the house was just as much
it's of a character,
more of a character,
and yeah, the house could do stuff, and like when it was starting to fall apart and still protecting her, I was like, this movie has made me care about a house. This movie has made me care about a building. Like,
this thing is made out of like Pueblo.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think anything's done that for a while, where I've cared about a thing. Like,
Yeah,
this isn't a Pixar movie.
We live different lives.
I care about my duck.
Well, thanks, buddy.
Aw, the duck. Yeah.
Shout out to my buddy Josh for getting me this.
One of the jokes that a bunch of my other person of color or Spanish heritage POC friends made was that like the most unrealistic part of Encanto wasn't like the kids with magical abilities. It was Abuela like saying I'm sorry in the end.
My friend who is of Hispanic background said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, the most unrealistic part of this was like the grandmother apologizing, or like any sort of authority figure apologizing to someone their junior was the most unrealistic thing about it. And I was like,
that was one of the tweets I saw after Shang-Chi came out. It was like, this is the most unrealistic part of Shang-Chi, and it was the aunt or the mom saying, I'm so proud of you.
Like, yeah.
And I was just
oh my gosh.
I was like, God, I'm too white for these jokes.
For those of you like Sharky who are too white to understand, when you're in a Hispanic household, like the people, and I'm sure I'm not going to speak on other POC because I'm not them, but at least in a Hispanic household, like there is an immense amount of pressure that's tied towards the elders in the family, because they've been through a lot and they've worked so hard to do whatever. My own grandmother was worked in the migrant farms in Minnesota. To like every like summer she'd take all of my uncles and go that way, come back. So like there is an immense amount of pressure on them to continue this, even though in reality, like those of us who are around, she doesn't need to. I'm not speaking for my own grandmother, but like in general, they don't need to, but they still think they have to keep everything together. And it was beautifully portrayed in Encanto by the house itself, where she felt like she needed to keep everything together, and like the house starts cracking, and she's like, "No, the house is fine, it's perfect," and I felt that shit.
It in a weird like side tangent, because I listen to a lot of like true crime podcasts, and they finally covered a Mexico City serial killer who killed elderly women, and it was like they investigated that shit harder than they investigated like normal murders. It's like it's a cultural thing where the elders are like the most respected people in a family, in a community.
Mhm.
Like it was, I was like, wow, really? Because like they put like instant effort into trying to figure out what happened to these old
Mhm.
ladies. And yeah, it's like it's definitely I can definitely tell like it's a cultural thing. And I mean, you can see that in a lot of other places. Like a lot of people, you know, respect your elders and stuff, but it's definitely like it's like some Asian cultures, the Hispanic cultures, they definitely have like an upgraded version of that, where if you don't, you get the shit kicked out of you. So,
In a matter of speaking, I will not confirm or deny that I got the shit kicked out of me as a child.
somebody, that was my duck. Somebody, that I knew in the past, is South Korean, and it was like death glare if they didn't like do something for their grandmother. Like
Mhm.
their mom or dad would just be like, "What are you doing?" Like,
They call it in Spanish. They'll give you the ojo, which is the eye,
mm,
and yeah, they just like mean mug the shit out of you, and they just kind of like look at you like that. And at some point, you're just paralyzed with like fear, and it doesn't. It's like It's like It's not even the because you're in reality, I'm much taller, stronger than most of my family. So like, if it came to it, I could probably fight. I'm not going to.
yeah.
But like, if when they look at you like that, doesn't matter how big you are, how tall you are, how mean you are, you
Okay,
something
okay, grandma.
bestial inside of you.
It's like, you got it, grandma. I'll do it. It's like,
Something bestial inside of you just says, no, we're going to pause right here and do exactly what they want.
so I know this episode's about Encanto, but it brings me back to something tangentially related. Coco. Coco
Yes.
had a lot of the same kind of themes where that one had more of like a love story, but it was a different kind of love story. Mostly like unrequited love, I think it was, if I remember Coco correctly.
Or like father and daughter.
There was also like a tangible villain in that one, but
Yeah,
yes, you are correct.
like
I'm
those
not talking
themes,
about Ernesto de la Cruz.
but like those themes are still there, because if I remember correctly, like the grandmother didn't want like him learning music or something like that.
Mhm.
If I'm maybe it's another movie. I think it's Coco though.
That's Coco.
Yeah, it's Coco.
And
Coco.
and it's just like that's for some reason it's like the two Hispanic movies I can think of have that same theme of, you know, grandparents kind of being at the center of it all.
Having the tether, like the tether is strongest at the top, that connects that they think connects everything together. And they feel like when a lot what is common in a lot of uh Hispanic, at least, households, again, not going to speak for other POC, is that you're like, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone, like sentiment. Um yes, yes, I'm
Yes,
gonna
Haley.
stop right there, Haley. Yes,
The
Haley.
academic.
Oh no.
I-
You can continue with your point. That face doesn't need an explanation on camera.
Yeah.
That was me working through something myself.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, now I just forgot what I was gonna say. I'm so sorry. Keep talking. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's definitely
just
the
raise your hand
aspect
again.
of
I got it. Whenever you're ready, I got my thing.
it's definitely the aspect of like, they think this is holding everything together. And in many ways it is true, because kind of when my grandfather died was about the time we kind of stopped seeing each other as often, because we'd see each other like every like week or so, because like frankly every other week was someone's birthday in the family reunions, and there was always a family reunion, there's always like, food. um but yeah, I think that's where I was going with that. Go ahead, Haley.
So I'm just kind of verifying with myself.
Yes.
The Encanto took place in Colombia, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I enjoyed that it was a like positive story about Colombia, because
Mhm.
in the cult of the USA, Colombia is
Cocaine.
not always portrayed in a really positive sort of light.
Instantly, cocaine comes to mind for me. Like that's just
Precisely.
exactly.
Like I
pop
just
culture.
googled Colombia because like I think of like there's a Spanish team and some people in there that are pretty talented. The top 2 things that people also ask about Colombia are: is it safe to go to Colombia? And is Colombia a poor or rich country? Which sounds terrible. And like cocaine was another thing that came to mind. And I feel, which like I cannot speak for people from Colombia or like have ancestral ties to it, but I'm sure it probably felt really nice to have a positive story about their culture come out that wasn't tied to like drug running or like didn't sort of like utilize the like sadder, more tragic parts of their history as like trauma porn. Obviously it's referenced in the flashback scene with what happens to their grandfather, like the grandfather of the family. And like that sort of trauma is what brings the miracle and everything, but it's not like they don't focus so much on that. They acknowledge it and like how it impacts the family like X number of generations down, but it's not like the whole story. It's I thought that was pretty significant. And I'm happy for those who like can now see a positive story out of a culture that tends to be villainized for things that aren't their fault.
It's also that thing of like anytime you go below Texas, you just start seeing the world in sepia in the movies, and it's always bullshit.
The sepia filter of life.
Yeah.
And like I felt okay talking about it because like most of my family's German, and you could shit on the Germans all the time. But like every story
they
about
earned it.
Germany nowadays is about that one like that period of time in Germany, which like obviously shit on them for it. Like it was a horrible thing that Germany did, and many people were complicit in it. But like I'm glad that a country of not white, like a non-white predominant country, got to have a positive portrayal in Western media because that shit doesn't always happen.
I want to know where that like falls on like the grandparent scale of Hispanic grandparents. The German grandparents are on the other opposite end.
That's why you don't talk about why Grandpapa is in Argentina now.
Grandpapa, why are you burning a lot of the documents?
Like... No, the joke that I hear a lot from other like German American descended is like, oh yeah, we learned that we have like Argentinian descent, but all of our Ancestry.com stuff comes back to like completely German. I'm like, so you have Nazi in your Germany. Because that's where they all fled after World War II is to Argentina. So yay. But that's enough about white people.
It's fine.
Colonizing my goddamn topic.
No, it's fine. Like Haley, we're white people. I found out my mom's from Alabama. I found out that my mom's family is from Alabama. Like
you found out like, whose family's from Alabama?
My mom's side of the family. And it's like when I say Alabama, I mean Alabama.
You don't mean Alabama. You mean Bama.
Bama.
Yes.
To bring us back to Encanto, I think it would be fun if we went around and either your favorite character and why, or what character you related to most and why. I think that would be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me? Who wants to go first?
I can start because my answer is the same for both of those. And it's Camillo. The shape-shifting and the constantly trying to make people laugh and make sure that other people are good is very much like I liked him as a character for that, and I very much relate to that. And also an important thing I think to note about that too is we never see him shapeshift into Mirabelle. And I think it's a very conscious choice of him to do that, to be like, oh, I'm not going to do this because she's the one that doesn't have a power. So I don't want to be like popping in and out of, pretending to be her and make that feel worse.
Actually,
I
think he's a very, very underutilized character.
You know that feeling like when you say something and then you're like, I'm wrong. No, I need to. I'm gonna check my birth certificate real quick.
Buddy.
Buddy, you just
Not
have
that
your
you just
birth
have it on
certificate?
hand.
Let me just check my social security card.
Yeah, I needed like
quick.
everything. I needed like everything when I
Get
got a
that
government
off
job.
the screen, Charlie!
That was a
It's
receipt.
it's
That
an
was a
old
receipt.
lottery ticket.
I am. It's like I am correct, and it also reminds me how white I am. My dad's side is from Illinois, so I am pasty white. It's like,
so the character that I associate with the most is probably, to nobody's surprise, Luisa. Because even in my own family, for various reasons in my life, I've felt the pressure to. I am not the oldest brother, but I have to act like I am the oldest brother because my older brother is disabled. And I have to be the one that's like, holding things down, and have to be the strong one, because if I'm not the strong one, then everything comes down. And I felt Luisa's song in my soul.
Was she your favorite character?
Yeah, yes to both. She
Gotcha,
was my
gotcha,
favorite,
gotcha.
and then also yes.
All right. Do you have a favorite and who you relate to most, Sharkus?
my favorite character is the capybara that occupies the little boy around, because I vibe with it, and I like whenever it has like a look in his face, I'm like, I can relate, buddy.
They're
Me too.
and they're friend shaped.
And they're friend shaped. Coconut doggy.
What the dog doing?
The character I'd probably relate to, not because of like what happened to him, but is Bruno. Because when I'm compared to like the rest of my family and everything that they do, I am kind of like the odd man out when it comes to things. Like, my mom's like really educated. My dad's, worked 50 years, like the same job, just career the whole time. Brother was always the athlete, and he works where I work now, so we're kind of equal out there. But and my sister is like, registered nurse and all that. They're doing these really successful things, and they've moved out of the house. They've gotten married. They've had kids, like all that. And I'm 32 at home. Just, I'm like Bruno, and I have not moved out of these walls. So
when I first started seeing like spoilers and just like the general vibe of Encanto, I messaged my friend Kristen, my friend who's of Hispanic heritage, was like, am I gonna relate more to Mirabel or am I gonna relate more to Bruno? And she responded yes. So my favorite character is Bruno. One, hilarious. Everything about Bruno, I love everything about Bruno. Love that he's built up as this like horrible rat man that like intentionally is out to sabotage the family, and then you meet him and he's just this like socially awkward weirdo that does rat telenovelas in the walls of his house.
He's me. He's me.
Definitely. Definitely love
Pate,
that.
is that you?
Pate DeRolo.
Who's Pate?
Why is Pate?
But I related him in ways that, like, similar to Sharky, like, everyone in my family is, like, super wildly successful. And, like, I do have these big-ass documents behind my head that on paper say I'm smart, but that has not translated into anything super tangible other than expensive pieces of paper.
What Haley has, what I have on my
wall. What you have, a full-time paying job. What I don't have, a full-time paying job.
It's all different metrics, friends.
Yes. Yep. And just sort of like the black sheep, we don't talk about Bruno, really kind of struck with me because like he thought he was being helpful with some of his predictions and it kind of went off the walls and everything. I feel like I relate the most to Mirabel, who I also adore. Like, she has these two very talented older sisters. I have two very talented older sisters. One is kind of like the workhorse of the family. We all kind of go to her with all of our own problems. And the other one is practically perfect in every single way, and I despise
Is that the middle sister?
The middle sister, yeah, and I'm the youngest, so I'm like Mirabel, I'm the youngest. I have, like, definitely through childhood would have related to, like, oh, my sisters are so gifted and stuff, and I'm just this, like, fuck up third kid that can't do anything right. Like, her Waiting on a Miracle song, I had to stop the movie and just kind of like sit in my feelings after that song. Like when she's like, I'm ready, like, like when she's just like, she wants it so bad and she tries so hard. And it's so hard watching as like an almost 30-year-old adult being like, you're gonna find your own miracle. Like, just give it a little bit more time because she's like a kid still. And that she just broke my heart the whole movie. And I have such a crackpot theory about why she didn't get a gift. And I'm sure this has been debated on the internet, but I try and avoid talking to other people on the internet. Because it's so deliberate when they show her, like, she's holding the candle and then she wipes her palms on her shirt and then she touches the doorknob and everyone else goes candle, doorknob. And I'm like, there's got to be something significant about that.
It is a very deliberate choice, but that doesn't have anything to do with why she doesn't get a gift. The directors have straight up like said that it's not the case.
I don't care. I'm keeping it.
That's why it's a crackpot theory.
It's a crackpot theory because it's disproven, and I've decided
just
they're wrong.
to signify that she's anxious and nervous and silly.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like Haley. It's like you're looking too deep into it. She's just a germaphobe.
I decided that her wiping her nervous hands on herself is her transferring the power. The miracle was always her. Like, she touched it, and the magic went into her, and she's a new miracle, just being herself.
So what
and
you're saying
that's
is
what I've decided is true.
So what you're saying is the movie is just about an ego. It's like, I am magic. I don't have magic. I'm magic.
No, it's about loving yourself enough that you don't have to be. You're a gift. You don't have to do anything else.
My presence is my present.
But yeah, I'd say I relate.
That's a whole different
I'm somewhere between Bruno and Mirabelle as a third child, neurodivergent third child with two neurotypical older siblings and neurotypical parents.
I just want to say my least favorites. That kid's parents, they let him have a pet jaguar, and that is child endangerment. So
how are they going to stop it, Sharky? Tell me.
He can talk to animals. You think Eliza Thornberry's parents, if they knew, would be like, Eliza Thornberry's parents.
They adopted a wild child.
Donnie's great.
They adopted that child, and they
didn't. Flea?
Yeah,
very good.
They adopted that kid, and they did not put him into school, so they're bad parents.
I do want to touch on. It seems like Disney might be starting to explore the other types of love. I threw it in our chat here, but like psychologically they recognize 8 different types of love: eros, philia, ludus, agape, pragma, philautia, storge, and mania.
I know that last one.
But Encanto is very much storge, which is family love. Philautia is, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation because I don't remember it. Is love of self, which is entirely what Turning Red is about. And I haven't watched Luca, but from everything I've seen, it's very much about ludus, which is just sort of this kind of playful love. And I really want to see if they continue that trend and if that's a direction that they're purposefully going and moving away from that romantic love.
Times are changing. So
I'm gonna go ahead and out myself. Agape, from my understanding, is like the love that you'd feel like it's pure, like it's purest form of love, like the love you have like a parent to, well, I don't know if a parent to a child would encompass that. But the reason I know what Eros and Agape are is because of freaking Yuri on Ice.
Yeah.
The 2 short programs
all leads back to Yuri one way or another.
Agape, and the only reason that Yurio finds his agape is because he thinks of the piroshkis that his grandfather makes. And he loves his grandfather, and that's his agape. I'm sorry. This is the second instance with this group where I've been like, I know what that word means because of Yuri on Ice.
Just the supercut of every time Haley mentions Yuri on Ice.
Oh god, at some point we'll have enough episodes.
You give me a whole episode of that.
Give it another half a year.
Feral.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. We'll do that one day.
If we ever get the movie, looking at you, Attack on Titan stands, you're the reason I don't get to have nice things.
Just a little side thing. There was a thing. It's like the final season, like part 3, coming like what next year or like a few months from now. And my friend's like, "This is the longest final season I've ever seen in my life." Just
The final season is as long as the rest of the show.
yeah. But
Encanto.
Encanto.
I remember watching the trailers when it was coming out. I watched I don't remember what movie I was watching with my partner at the time. I say it but I remember seeing the trailers for it. I was like, that's interesting. That looks like Central American style house. Oh, they're speaking Spanish. Sick. And then I was immediately hooked. It was just that quick, and that's how quick they got me. Because of how important representation is and how, frankly, very little of it I've gotten, at least from a cultural standpoint, in so long.
something I do like about it is like all this, like they're all sisters, right? For the most part. Most of the
Yes.
main like girls with the miracles and stuff. I appreciate the differences in appearance between like the perfect one who could, I guess, do the flowers, if I remember that correctly. She can like grow flowers and all that. To Dolores with like, she doesn't have long hair. She has like the short curly like hair on top, and then you have the buff girl. I'm more buff girls in animation, please. That's just me talking.
They had to fight for that.
They did, and I'm glad.
One of my favorite tidbits on that too is they made a bunch of Isabella merch because they expected all the children to latch on to that because she's the pretty one and the perfect one, and all of the kids are just like, no, we want Louisa. Give me the buff woman.
muscle
too
girl
carry
solidarity.
All the donkeys.
Can I get a strong boy to help me carry all these chairs? Breaking feminism. One girl just picking up 10 chairs at once. Yeah.
So I like the difference in character design. Everybody looked unique, including the adults. It's like I can't remember names, but it was just refreshing to see. And it stuck to me because like I've seen those body types and that hairstyle and those skin tones in movies. Like I've seen them as people and like as actors and stuff like that. So I was like, this is cool seeing like this realistically done. It's not like a stylized version. It's like there was like
getting away from same face.
Yeah, it's like there was deliberate efforts to make these characters culturally accurate, but also like
yet unique
in their own ways, and it was just really cool to see. And like I said, Bruno kind of just looks, he looks like unkept, but like he's still like he stands out from everybody else in the show and everybody else in the movie. And you know, the kid looks like his dad to a degree, but like he still stands out enough. Like it's just all like this just effort and character design. That's all you need. Enough of the same face.
I was gonna say it's also realistic to your average Hispanic household, because one, like, if you go to my family reunion, it's all fucking shades of brown.
Yeah.
Getting into like black skin tones and like going into like a Haley skin tone. It's that entire gradient.
Yeah, and
if you wanted to say something,
I was also about to bring that up. I was trying to find an image for it, but like, look at the variety of skin tones in all of these characters, and it's all one family.
Yeah.
Yes, Haley.
I remember that being a point of feedback that Lynn got with In the Heights, that there wasn't enough representation of like the shades of brown in the Heights. And I'm not sure when In the Heights came out in terms of production of Encanto and like how much creative control Lynn had in terms of like character design and stuff with Encanto, but I'm like, if it's a case of like he heard that and was able to like apply it in Encanto, or someone else in that production was like, we like sees and understands that, I think that's good because like even someone who's in the community messed up and was like open and honest about like, yep, I could have done a better job. Like we could have done a better job like painting all the shades of brown that are present in that area of in the Heights. And they did it in Encanto, which I thought was cool.
I think so Encanto, like the early stages had started around the time around 2016 after Moana had come out. And they were doing like a press tour. They were doing like the press tour for it. He had announced that he had started something that eventually became Encanto. So wherever that 2016 is compared to In the Heights or whatever, probably going to be where like enough time to put like the feedback to use.
Because
Hmm?
if you're thinking about other movie like Disney or Pixar titles, like that production conglomerate, Coco, they all looked pretty similar to one another. It was
think
kind
they
of
all had
like the
similar
same
skin tone.
shade.
Yeah.
And then Encanto, which like as a not worldly white people, I was like, oh shit, there are like what a fun diverse family, because like all the people who are like blood related to each other even don't look super similar. Like Tia Pepe,
The one with the weather.
the one with the weather, and then Mirabelle's mom and Bruno are triplets. And they look super different. And that was at least fun for me because like my sisters and I don't really look that much alike. Like you can tell we're related, but they're like more olivey brunettes with green eyes. And I'm like the literal textbook definition of like, oh, like, look, you can't even see my arm.
Yeah.
She white.
Yeah, they run the visual gamut, and even and they call it colorism. Is within POC spaces when you only focus on the lighter skin tan skins because they're more they sell better, or whatever the case may be. But I did genuinely appreciate seeing the whole gamut.
I think that was something that came out a few years ago with Big Hero 6. One of the characters on the team, the tall white girl,
what's her
Honey
name?
Lemon.
Lemon.
Yeah, Honey Lemon. She's portrayed as like incredibly white, but she's supposed to be Hispanic. And I was
that's
like,
fine. Yeah, she's
it makes
Hispanic.
sense because now it's like, now I know like that skin tone could apply, but I know like instantly the internet was like on it. Like, why is she white if she's supposed to be Hispanic? Like they're assuming they're supposed to be a skin tone. And it's true. Like, and I'm like, that's what I liked about this movie. It's like, okay, I'm a little more educated now about something I didn't know about. Like, I did not know that there was this shades of this culture. Then I thought back and I was like, this actually reminds me of when it's like, unless I'm remembering history wrong, I know Kevin is not African American. He's actually a Dominican.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, that's because I for some reason I thought I had like this thing in my head, like I had a set, shade for some reason. And I was like, oh, I've learned something today.
For those at home, Kevin is one of our friends.
Yeah, he's
one of our players in our D&D game.
And I mean, unless I'm like completely going senile and like remembering history wrong, and which I know
the man, my brother in Christ, you lived with the man.
My brother in Christ.
My brother in Christ is becoming one of my favorite things to say. But
I have my Marshall on my Animal Crossing island says that to me now, and it's the best. He says, I did learn
that lack of sleep can actually lead to like early Alzheimer's, so I might be doing more damage to myself.
Your brain will literally start eating its own mass when you're chronically sleep deprived. I give this conversation to my fiance all the time whenever he's like, I can't be sleeping this much. I'm like, go to bed or your brain's going to eat itself.
I hurt myself because I get like 18 hours of sleep during the weekdays because I just cannot fall asleep at night and I have to be up at 4 a.m. So I might be going fucking stupid. So
yes, Haley.
I think I did you have your hand up, Charlie, or is it just me, or were you just pointing?
I was just going to loop us back to Encanto.
Okay, I'm looping us back to Encanto.
It's my turn. Yes.
I know we talked about what characters we relate to the most and who are our favorites, but if we had to pick one of the like established I almost said quirks. powers or abilities, I'm doing the same thing in my head, Deca. I'm doing the same thing in my head. Which one would we pick? And you can say why if you want to. I'll start. I'll put myself on blast. I would want to do what Mirabelle's mom does and make food that could heal any sort of ailment. That would be the shit.
Who could have seen that coming?
I love
do
cooking.
her
A resident cleric player. Who could have foreseen?
I didn't even think of it that way. I just like cooking food for people. It's like my favorite thing to do is cooking.
They
and it,
literally
makes me feel most connected with a deceased relative, and like when they're like, yeah, it's like my mom's food can heal anything that's wrong with you, and I'm like, I want to do that.
They literally have that as a magic spell for clerics. You can just make food.
I know there's a make food spell, but it doesn't taste good. It says it in the description.
If you branch out and go into Druid, you get Goodberry. Then you can make food and heal people.
There was
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, who's next?
Well, I
I'm gonna pick. No, which power would you have and why, Sharky?
I want to be able to talk to animals because I want to hang out with that capybara.
There it is.
There it is.
They are friend shaped. They keep to themselves. They follow the Paul Rudd lifestyle of staying in their lane. I mean, look at how Paul Rudd has aged. That man has stayed in his lane for 30 years. And he has not aged a day.
He is somehow still 30.
My favorite part about like this interaction here is that like if Sharky theoretically does get that power, he just finds a capybara and it just keeps saying slurs. He just can't get away from it.
No,
he just finds the most racist bird.
No, if I have the ability to talk to animals, all of these feral cats in this next door neighbor's houses are mine. They are coming to live with me.
No,
You'll have a cat
you have that flipped. You belong to them now.
All right, Deca, what would you pick?
Oh man. In a similar way of living a lifestyle or a life of like largely service, I think I would also pick the cooking to heal somebody's ailments. Because I am the same way with you, where we like mostly live our life in service to others, for one reason or another. It's the trauma.
I turned my trauma into a whole ass master's degree.
She monetized her trauma.
No, she didn't. She owes money for it.
No, I've paid those in full.
Oh, sick! Congratulations.
That is a classic case of white privilege. But I digress. Charlie, which one would you pick and why?
I like multifunctionality of things too much to not pick Camilo's.
He's a Camilo stan.
Absolutely. But just like being able to shift into anyone that you please. Like there's too many uses for that. We're not going into them, but there's too many uses for that.
We'll keep it there. We'll keep it there.
It is super on brand for you because anytime we talk like D&D characters, you're like, how can I make this like? You go through like speccing a character out from start to finish. And I'm just like, we have different brains. Me playing a character ahead, never.
That's the having played D&D for 18 years brain.
Yeah. On off for 18 years. It's wild.
Jesus.
I guess I'll make you give me one more favorite thing before I let regular conversation start again. Favorite song from the movie, if you have one.
Surface Pressure.
Yes, Surface Pressure. That's Louise's song.
It's not even close.
Mine's a tie between Mirabelle's like Waiting on a Miracle and I'm gonna butcher it, but the song with two butterflies, the two caterpillars or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That one fucking rocks my shit, and I don't even know what they're saying. I know just enough words. I know just enough words to get my heart broken. And it should have won the Oscar. Yeah, should have won the Oscar. Should have won the Oscar.
I like the
No shade to Billie
There,
Eilish.
I pronounced it for you.
I like the sister song too, with the donkeys. I think that was the one I enjoyed because before
Surface
even
Pressure.
watching the movie, like the internet already knew about We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Mhm.
So it was like at that point where I'm like, just give me the song so I can just get it out of my head, because the internet's just talking about this, like it's just talking about it. Just let me hear it and see what all the fuss is about. Like I wasn't
Let it
going in.
go.
I wasn't going in with like the eagerness to hear new songs. I was like, I just want to hear it and get it over with, since this internet's like annoying the shit out of me about it. And but then hearing the older sister's song, like with the donkeys and all that, I was like, I feel this. Like it's like I feel this. I feel the themes here.
Yep. It's definitely hits those like
I'm the oldest of
gifted kid burnout.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of my full blood siblings. I have one older half sister, but like I'm the oldest of the three. So seeing them all succeed in me now is like, oh.
And I'm Denise.
It's like I'm a nurse. I'm married and have a house at the age of 26, and I'm 32 and I bought a new D&D book. It's like,
I got a rock.
I got a rock.
rock.
All right, Charlie, what's yours?
So not me frantically looking up the names to the songs because I can't remember any of them. But Meet La Familia, very much how it was just like, by the way, cheers everyone.
That's the
Here's
opening
everyone.
song, right?
You good?
What
You
about
good?
what about
All
you?
right.
No, not me. Everybody else. Yeah.
That's
I feel that.
That's like the
What's
opening
your thing?
song
Shut
from her,
your
right?
mouth.
Basically,
La Familia Madrigal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that she starts. Okay.
Have you guys
Yeah.
seen the white people cover that song on TikTok? And the guy's like,
No.
"Welcome to the family, Madrigal." And I'm like, I hate you.
So
I don't know who you are.
I don't know if it's La Familia or another song, but I know there was a purposeful animation choice where Mirabelle's father comes in offbeat and is mimicking the dancing because he doesn't actually know it, but he just wants to be a part of his family and be there.
Just
And so
a little offbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just not quite in sync. And it's such just like an amazing animation detail.
Just to touch on Haley's thing for a second. Earlier when Deck was saying like hearing the songs in Spanish like hits different, and it's like I can get the same feeling of hearing like foreign songs covered by like white people into English lyrics. And I'm like, these do hit different.
It goes the other way, and
like,
I don't like that.
It's like these do hit different, and it's not always good. So
it's very rarely good. It's up there with white people trying like reclaiming hip hop songs or rap, like even worse, rap songs.
What do we have to reclaim? It wasn't ours.
No,
we're just colonizing it.
The worst thing is I'm gonna take this rap song as a like
I'm gonna
California
take an acoustic,
hippie,
and my girlfriend and I are gonna.
And here's a
it.
ukulele.
Yep.
And what's funny is like ukulele, like aren't ukuleles not even like a white people invention?
No, they're not. It's
the
tweet worst.
It's like, oh god, somebody get this hipster musician out of here. And then the next comment is, oh god, oh fuck, he's going for the ukulele. I need to find it. I need to find it again because that shit fucking killed me. First time I saw it, just the oh god, oh fuck, he's going for the ukulele. And I was like,
but yeah, just let people of color please keep their songs. I don't need to hear a bunch of white people with their acoustics or their ukes like fucking butchering the song.
Or that one white lady who did that cover of Surface Pressure but made it angry, and I'm like, you did not get the whole point of that song.
You missed that went this way.
No! It was like I can't even hear it because like just I get very upset by like aggressive sounding voices. And this lady is just like angry, like a scary kind of angry, and I'm like, did you miss Louisa? Like, did the point you like?
Yep.
And she got lambasted for it on the internet, and then she was just like, she tried defending herself, and like, so I don't
Artistic
remember what she
integrity.
said. I saw it and went, not my circus, not my monkey.
It's been a very useful saying over the last few days.
Very much like hearing Sasageo in English. It's just like, nope, we're just gonna file that away and not listen to that.
Sorry, Jonathan Young, this is not it.
I don't mind Nate Wants to Battle. I like some of his covers, but I also will listen to the regular ones too.
I like it when they take the time to keep like the pace with the original song, because if you translate like a song from Japanese to English, it's not going to rhyme like a normal song would, because just of how their dialect is. So it's like, if you can at least keep the same speed of how they sing it and make it somewhat sound like the original, if not in lyrics but just like in the tempo of it, then it works a little bit better. But yeah, let's not take stuff and white people buy it.
Like, stop whitewashing everything.
Please.
Just stop.
Please.
Oh, what was it? Just on topic of whitewashing and completely unrelated. There's a movie coming out that's based on a Japanese novel. It's called Bullet Train. It's supposed to be like an action comedy, and it has Brad Pitt as the star.
I was about to say, is it
the novel?
ScarJo?
No, but the novel, the main character is Japanese, and they just made him Brad Pitt, which is the male Scarlett Johansson. It's like,
yeah.
And it's already.
I appreciate your 1,000-yard stare there, Haley.
It's not even out yet, and already the author is like, so yeah, I didn't approve that, but you know, they have the rights. So
they paid me money, so
like the movie is not going to come out yet, and the author's like, yeah, I'm not happy about it. So just how hard is it? It's like you're casting a role. There's a bunch of good Asian actors out there now. A lot of good Asian movies have come out in the last few years and put people into the limelight.
There is a trend. It's particular in the gaming industry, but also in the like movie industry, where it comes to like Hollywood doesn't want to bet on something that might happen unless you're Disney and you have like infinite money that you could just do that. They wanna make sure it's something that Brad Pitt, say the Terminator, which comes out with like the billionth sequel that doesn't need, all of these different properties, and they just come out with another sequel after another and cast the same fucking 5 actors.
But you mean Fast and Furious?
Yes.
What was funny though is that in like the argument for his book, still on this random topic before we go back, the guy was like, are you telling me that a movie with a male lead you don't think it'll be successful in an era of crazy rich Asians in Shang-Chi? Like, are you telling me that it won't be successful in this day and age? Like, so the guy was just like, you don't even want to try?
You also have to consider, like, just taking data from, like, even not your own productions. Just, like, look at things like Train to Busan blowing up on Netflix. Like, people want stories that are done with Hollywood. Like, Hollywood is tired, it's boring, it's repeating the same things. People want something fresh, and it's just like, oh yeah, there's talent outside of Hollywood. Who could have foreseen?
God, what pisses me off so much is that they're doing a Hollywood remake of Train to Busan.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
And I'm like, the movie's already good. It doesn't need it.
It's going to be terrible.
It's going to suck.
Even if it's good, it's going to be terrible.
I can't wait to see the movie that takes place on a 36-hour train ride from LA to New York.
But I think that loops us back into
Snowpiercer.
Wasn't that what Snowpiercer was? I thought Snowpiercer was a Train to Busan movie.
Basically.
But anyway, diverse voices outside of Hollywood ties into Encanto slightly, because just outside perspectives tend to bring innovation to this type of medium. So if Encanto taught us that, good. Let people who aren't white do stuff.
I wanted to, and that's why I kind of wanted to do the Turning Red and Encanto episode together, because even if they're not identical, the themes are still there. The generation before and the pressure on the generation below them kind of thing, which is why I feel like this episode, we do kind of get off topic a lot talking about it, but there's a space that needs to be filled because we're not comparing, we're not doing,
This is just a part one. Part two will be.
Yeah, I would say the Turning Red episode.
Alvin.
Yeah, I would say the Turning Red episode is definitely like part 2 of this. Like, I would have liked to talk and compare them in an episode, but we do what we can here.
I wanted to make sure we gave Encanto the space and time that it deserved without having to
It was a fun movie.
be like, oh yes, we're doing the diversity episode, so we're shoving all the diverse movies in one episode. Nah, give them their own episodes.
Like,
give them their own episodes.
It's a fun movie, and I think the only it's a movie about magic and all that other stuff. And I think the only thing that really felt like it wasn't real to me is that when she tells her grandma that she's wrong and she doesn't get slapped in the face. So
you don't get to make that joke, motherfucker.
I was gonna say, I was like, my grandma wouldn't have ever slapped me in the face, but my grandma was white.
My grandma would go like this, like, "Ay, niño."
I'm like 90% sure my grandma beat the shit out of my uncles because they were just pain in the asses. She had one daughter and like 7 boys.
Oh,
and I'm looking at my family history. It's like that for every generation. It's like 8 kids, and I'm like, this is a huge fucking family. If I try to trace this shit out, what's the math of like 8 times 8 times 8?
What was that tweet you had, Deca? Was like you,
Robbie Damon
having 30 cousins.
Yeah. Every family reunion I go to, I was like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
That math is like 514, Sharky.
Yeah, it's like every male that my dad's line is descended from has like a group of like 6 sons in it. And I'm like,
my father,
is this just what Illinois was?
And my
is this just all
father's father?
It's like Illinois was just potatoes and farmers and a bunch of kids. So,
oh my god, this has been a good episode about we're talking baseline about Encanto, but it has also been a pretty good episode to talk about diversity and how Hollywood's quite frankly failing us in that still.
Oh man, I can't wait until we get a movie about white families. It's like,
yeah.
Like, you think they're a white pride?
We do have one. It's called Deliverance.
Oh no!
The banjos intensify.
I was like, what is the most derogatory movie I could think of?
Forrest Gump.
Well, that's like the state. I guess that's kind of like the statement that kind of really hits. It's like how much we have of that compared to how much we have of other people, and it's like we started seeing that. Encanto, Turning Red, Shang-Chi had the family element to it. Moana, I believe.
Moana, Coco.
We're starting to get like a lot of looks into other cultures, like family ties and all that, and it's wholesome.
It's
in a lot of cases.
Nice.
It's needed.
It's needed.
We need to stop viewing America as a melting pot and view it more as a salad. It's better with more ingredients.
It's like a nice charcuterie.
It's a nice charcuterie board.
Yes.
America is better ingredients, Papa John's.
And on that
note, the fucking episode.
And in the episode, I hate that. You put that in my good Catholic Encanto episode. Fuck you. You can see all of our bullshit on the bottom. I'm
sorry, I'm very tired.
You're gonna fuck to sleep.
Thank you for watching. If you want to see more from us, check out the video description box below. There are flow codes. Lay some comments down below about how much of a shithead Sharky was for that fucking Papa John's. I've been AnxietyLasagna, joined by Duck, Deca, and unfortunately Sharky. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Get me off the show.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Motherfucker.